Pressure is mounting. We discussed this, didn't we, on Friday night, how tough it was for Westpac CEO Brian Harnser, and so it should be tough. Over allegations the bank broke the law 23 million times. The financial crimes watchdog AUSTRAC is taking Westpac to court, claiming it failed to monitor international payments linked to child trafficking and child pornography. Westpac yesterday released a 3-point plan to deal with the accusations, and today ASIC confirmed it too would be examining the bank for potential legal breaches believed to relate to the Corporations Act and whether directors breached their duties. For more, I'm joined by Sky News host and business author Annalise Nielsen. Annalise, this is extraordinary. I mean, I wrote about it on the weekend. We spoke at length about this on Friday night. 23 million breaches is systemic, and it's some of the most heinous crimes that Westpac has let get through their net.
Absolutely. We've heard some pretty disparaging commentary about Westpac over the last few days, including that no one thought it could get worse than CBA being implicated in funding terrorism, but it's just the worst thing you can have in any society, these 12 instances where the bank, if they'd intervened and been doing what they were supposed to do, they could have stopped child exploitation, but they didn't. Now, there's a few questions about what regulator is going to do what when. There's 3 different regulators in this scenario now. We have AUSTRAC, which has the original statement of claim in the court. That's going to have civil claims against the bank. The comparison's being made to the Commonwealth Bank and their issue last year, where they had 53,000 breaches and a $700 million fine. But now today, as you said, ASIC has also come to the table. They've said they're looking into the situation there and what Westpac will be facing from them is potential breaches of the Corporations Act. There's a few different sections that people are speculating they could be looking at. ASIC wasn't saying to us today when we contacted them which ones that would be, but that could also have fines and potentially, depending on what section, even those criminal breaches. But today in question time, we heard the Prime Minister then suggesting that this would fall under the BEAR regime. Now, that's the bankers' accountability regime that was introduced by the government in the middle of last year, but the failing there is that it only applies from July last year. There's no retrospective application of that, and so it means that it would only be looking at those breaches that happened from July last year until now, and that leaves a huge gap because some of these allegations go back to 2013. But the political ammunition is firing up. We've got Labor becoming more vocal and more pointed, saying that something needs to happen, and we've even had the government definitely ramping up their rhetoric. This was Peter Dutton in question time.
It's clear, Mr Speaker, that the Westpac banking bosses, through their negligence, have given a free pass to pedophiles, and there is a price to pay for that, Mr Speaker, and that price will be paid, and we've been very clear about it.
I mean, the difficulty for the government, other than ASIC and AUSTRAC and all of them, in many cases, these regulators that are independent in terms of political push to act in the courts. These are all operating under pretty structured legal engagement rules. The government's pretty impotent when it comes to going after Westpac, other than the platform of question time and public opinion. But I would be surprised, Annalise, if the Westpac CEO can survive. I had the sense of it on Friday that they kept him there. I thought they might have called for his resignation, but I think they kept him there to soak up as much opprobrium this week, and eventually, let's say he goes before Christmas, the board will then think, chairman down, that they will perhaps survive. But is there any chance that the CEO and the board could get wiped out here?
Well, the interesting thing is they have their annual general meeting in just a few weeks in the middle of December, and so at that meeting there's likely to be a vote against them by the shareholders. A number of shareholders groups have been very vocal in the fact that they think that the board needs to go, at least the CEO, if not the chairman, and it's something that they want to see action on before then. And on top of that, Westpac's already facing a strike against their remuneration package. So this means at the last meeting that there was a vote against them paying themselves. They weren't given a bonus, and it was because of the poor performance of the bank and also the poor performance of the bank at the Banking Royal Commission. And so they're already facing the second strike. If that happens, that would trigger what could be a spill of the board, and that means every position's open. And so that's the last thing any of them want. They've already decided to forego their short-term bonuses, but many of them are still taking home enormous paychecks. Brian Hartzer himself, $5 million last year. No regular person thinks that that really is any kind of blow to them and any kind of accountability, and that's what people are crying out for. The price of their shares is down. It was down 1.33% again today. It just keeps sinking. They've lost $6.5 billion in market capitalisation. In the end, it doesn't seem like anyone who holds a Westpac bank account would take the step to go to the bank and say, right, I'm going because I'm so disgusted by this behaviour. But investors care and they can make their voices heard.
Well, we'll see if they do. We'll see what happens at this AGM. Annalise, thanks very much.